see it. I can't see the scenario in which Tennessee goes into the building of the hottest team in the entire NFL and does what they did to the Ravens. Now, one might say, well, the Ravens were the hottest team in the whole NFL until Tennessee beat them. That is correct. But the Ravens' game plan is so drastically different than what the Chiefs' game plan will be. And in that football game, the Titans had a de facto +5 in the plus-minus, right? Mm-hmm. They had 3 legitimate turnovers forced, 2 turnovers on downs that we can call turnovers. So they won the turnover margin by 5. In that football game, they scored touchdowns, 3 short field touchdowns because of the turnovers and turnover on downs. They only had 1 extended drive the entire game, the drive where Derrick Henry had the 66-yard run on 3rd and 1, and they still were only able to manage 28 points. Listen, 28 points ain't going to get it done this weekend in Arrowhead. You are going to need to get into the 30s, and that hopefully for the Titans will be enough to keep it close. That if you were paying attention to the Chiefs, as Canty as I know you were, you saw this coming a couple months ago. When they went 2-1, when Patrick Mahomes was out, the game he got hurt plus the 2 games without him, and keep in mind 2 of those games were against Green Bay and Minnesota. Yep. When they showed, oh wait, this defense could be turning a corner. And then the fact that since Mahomes has been back after the Titans game, they're not only undefeated, they have whooped everybody. They're 7-0 with an average margin of victory of 17 points. There is no credible path for Tennessee to come to Arrowhead, barring Kansas City repeatedly shooting itself in the foot. But they did that against Houston, a team that was better than Tennessee this year, and they still beat them by 20 points. So I'd love to add a level of intrigue or a level of suspense to this game. And there will be intrigue or suspense no matter who the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl, because either one of those teams are going to be excellent teams.
But you don't see it in this.
No, it's the same way I feel about the Texans game. This would be a shocking, shocking loss if Tennessee pulls it off.
I'm with you that it would be a shocking loss, but I completely disagree with you in terms of not being able to see a path for the Titans to be able to pull off an upset. I mean, we know what the Titans' formula is. We're going to run the football, and we're going to play bend but don't break defense and rely on our guys being opportunistic on that side of the ball. They've got multiple turnovers in both playoff games. They actually had a defensive score in that regular season matchup against the Chiefs. I think it was the Rashad Evans scoop and score in the second quarter. And then they had a block kick at the end of the game to seal the victory. So you know what the Titans are going to do. You know how they're going to try to play this game. They want to keep it close, 1-possession game, so they don't have to rely on Ryan Tannehill to be a volume passer. They want to keep the ball in Derrick Henry's hands on the offensive side of the ball. And on the defensive side of the ball, it's all about being able to steal extra possessions. There's a reason why this defense was top 10 in takeaways. That's a part of what their defensive coordinator, Dean Pease, preaches. Knowing the personnel that they have, I don't think they match up very well against Kansas City in that track meet that they have with their skill position players on that side. I just think that you have to rely that they have with their skill position players on that side. I just think that you have to rely on being able to have some deflections, some takeaways, tip passes, fumbles, things like that in order to give yourself an opportunity. But based on how the Chiefs played last week against the Texans, it's not outside of the realm of possibility to see the Chiefs play a sloppy game.
Well, I totally get all that. And they have a phenomenal first gear. And Derrick Henry's been sensational. But if they fall behind early, what's their second gear? What do they do?
Go ahead, Kim.
Well, Jenna, they fell behind early in the regular season game. They were down 10-0 in that game.
But they didn't fall behind to an right, except that what you saw from this Kansas City offense last week is they can put up a ton of points, and there's just a lot that Ryan Tannehill would have to overcome.
No, it is a lot that Ryan Tannehill will have to overcome, and at some point I do believe he's going to have to make some throws. I don't think they're going to make it through this game with him not throwing for at least 100 yards. So that's something that remains to be seen on whether or not he can make the requisite plays based on the looks that they're getting from that Chiefs defense when they load up to stop Derrick Henry and they put extra defenders in the box. But, I mean, as far as the Titans are concerned, they're not going to get away from what they do. They're 8-0 when Derrick Henry rushes for over 100 yards. So they are going to feed Derrick Henry, stay with the running game as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, with respect, I think they're going to be forced to get away from what they do. They are drawing dead at stopping the Chiefs' passing attack. This is the league's 24th ranked pass defense, 31st ranked red zone defense. Pardon me. Now, in the postseason, that red zone defense has been extraordinary. 7 red zone trips for their opponent. They've only allowed 2 touchdowns, and it's one of the reasons they've had the success that they've had. Since Ryan Tannehill's become their quarterback, they are a historically great red zone offense. 87% in the regular season since Ryan Tannehill became their quarterback, which is totally unprecedented. Next best team in the league, I think, was Tampa in the low 70s. But their red zone defense will not be able to do what it did in the regular season against Kansas City in Patrick's first game back, which has forced the Chiefs to kick 4 field goals from the 25-yard line or inside. In order to win that first matchup in the final seconds, they didn't just need the scoop and score. They didn't just need the 4 Chiefs deep drives to end in 3 instead of 7, 4 separate times. They also needed one of the wildest finishes we saw in the NFL all season long. And the Chiefs, despite all that, still had a field goal at the gun to force overtime, and it just gets blocked. This is not disrespectful to the Titans. They are playing a team that is last year was arguably the best team in the NFL and faced a team that was on its last breaths of a dynasty, and they ended up beating the Chiefs in overtime. And this year, when the quarterback's been healthy, is the best team in the NFL. And the quarterback is absolutely the healthiest he has been right now since week 1. We saw the Texans hold Tyreek Hill to less than 60 yards receiving, and the Chiefs put up half 100. And they did it in 2.5 quarters. I'd love to be able to sit here and say, there's nothing safer, by the way, for me, than to make the case why Tennessee can win. Because I'm already so far all in on the Chiefs. I'd love to be able to sit here on a Friday and be like, well, I'm scared about the game. I think the Chiefs win a close one. That way on Monday I have a bit of a hedge. But it's not what I see. It's not what I believe. The Chiefs will be tested once in the postseason. It will be in the Super Bowl against either the Packers or the 49ers.
Listen, you know, you and I are on the same corner in terms of the Chiefs being able to win this game. But, I mean, you go back to the regular season matchup between the Titans and the Chiefs. There were a lot of Chiefs mistakes that kept them from taking advantage of scoring opportunities. Like you bring up how good the Titans were in the red zone. I don't know if it was a product of them being good or the Kansas City Chiefs getting in their own way, because an OPI by Tyreek Hill took away a touchdown.
Yep.
I mean, you took points off the board from the mistakes that you've made. And the first foray into the playoffs for this Chiefs team, we saw a lot of mistakes in the first quarter. Exactly. Right. So it's not going to be Bill O'Brien on the other sideline this week to be able to have some coaching gas to spot you points. So I think this is a situation where the Chiefs have to play a much cleaner game, and it's not something that we've seen them do consistently, which is play mistake-free football.
And the one other thing I'll say is this, and I know everyone all week is making Derrick Henry to be the best player in football. Derrick Henry's on one of the greatest 3-game stretches anyone's ever had. And by the way, he's one of the greatest high school football players ever as far as at that position, what he did statistically. He had an unbelievable career at Alabama. And the last 16 weeks in the NFL, his last, I think, 20 games in the league or so, he has been sensational. So I'm giving him full respect. He's not the greatest running back in league history. What they are relying, what the discussion around him right now is, will he be held under $150? $150 over the course of a season, what would that be, Canty? That's a 2,400-yard season. Yep. He did $150 every single week. Like, Derrick Henry, a good game for a running back, a great game for a running back is 95 to 100 yards. People are just giving Derrick Henry that in the first half. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that 4 consecutive weeks, because the last guy we saw do that was Walter Payton, and the guy before that was O.J. Simpson. It's been a long time since we've seen a running back do what people are just assigning that Derrick Henry will do. I don't see that happening either.
We'll see if Chris Jones is healthy.